Good evening and welcome to Loaded Bag and UFC. I can't find my glasses, man. I need to go to the car to get my glasses. But welcome to Loaded Bag and UFC. We have a mega panel, as you can imagine. The boys back. Chris is back from his holiday, so the Loaded boys are in the house. And we've brought a mega panel with us to talk all things football. And what a weekend it's been. What a weekend it has been for many reasons. And we're going to get into it. That is for sure. But welcome to the panel. We've got Adam in the house from Together BHA. How you doing, fella?
I'm doing all right, mate. Doing not too bad at all, even though it was a bit of a sad result of the weekend, but we continue onwards.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get into that for sure.
Adam.
Unbeaten. Yeah, that's I'm going to keep saying that for now. But you got to score against Ipswich.
You're a bit more humble tonight, Adam. It's good to see.
Well, next time we speak, I won't be though. I'm gonna put 2 pairs of sunglasses on after the weekend.
That's what the Liverpool fans told me.
Yeah.
Dan United, you're looking chipper this evening. Is there a reason for that?
Champions League, here we come.
Clip it. But good to have you back, mate. Good to have you back on the panel. And look, I've no doubt we'll get that Man United, that's for sure. And a very summary, a very relaxed, calm Wolfie in the house. I wonder why. I'm sure we'll get into that. But how are you, fella?
I'm good, mate. The sun is shining. I've got these Scouser tears filling my bottle up, and yeah, I'm hydrated. Vitamin D in me. I can't complain, mate.
I bet you can't. We got Dan, Chelsea Dan in the house. Welcome to Loaded Mag NFC's debut on the panel. Hopefully not for the first time, not for the last time, should we say. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very good. Glad to be here. Obviously happy after the weekend's result. And yeah, sun's been shining. Hence why we got the glasses on today.
Need to get these glasses. I might have to get my daughter to get the car or something, man. It's bad. And Deji, welcome to the panel, man. Look, you are not one to dodge a panel after a loss. So big up to yourself for coming and joining us and talking all things Spurs and Arsenal. But hope you're well. How's things in general?
Well, I'm having a shit day. Thanks for asking. Obviously it's been a bit of a roller coaster this past couple of days. It's time for change at my club. Yeah, I think it's let's not get too carried away. I'm not going to start shaking my bum violently just yet. It could be better. I can't lie to you. It could be better. I was really, really disappointed on the weekend.
Imagine
no shades.
Yeah.
You can't wear shades when you lose. You can't wear shades when you lose.
There you go. No, Daz, we might need to drop off and go pick up the shades at some point. But and there's a reason why. And Chris is representing us because we did win. So we have the right to wear the shades this evening. That is for sure. But boys, how are you, Daz, Chris?
All good. Bit of sun here in Ireland. So what's that about? We'll take it though.
Take it all day long. And Chris, back from the sun. What's it like?
You look tan, Chris. Chris, you look well tan, mate. Where did you go, Bogner?
Hey, don't diss Bogner.
Oh, dear.
No, it's good to be back, boys. Miss being on the channel, but yeah, lovely holiday in Salou with the family. It was really, really nice. And at the weekend, obviously getting 3 points, 10 out of 12. Couldn't be happier. And to be honest, and I'm sure we'll get into it, the fact that we're picking up these points and we're not even playing particularly that well, it's pleasing to see. I keep referring back to last season. Like last season, I think the games that we've played this season, there's no way we'd have picked up 10 points last season. And this is the promising thing. And I'm hoping that, having these breaks, not having the European football this season, I'm hoping that it's going to pay dividends. And once we start clicking, we could really kick on and, hopefully remain unbeaten as long as possible, because there's certainly opportunity for us to have a really strong finish to the season. But we'll see. It's early days, isn't it? It's only 4 games in, but a good start. But yeah, great to be back.
Definitely. Look, there's only one place to start, or is there? There's a couple of places to start.
A few places to start.
I did promise him we'd go to it first, because you could probably argue it's the result of the weekend. And we've got to go to
Three
Anfield,
nil.
surely. Surely we've got to go to Anfield.
Ah,
And
well, you're
down.
like a United win. I was going to say, well, you know.
No, he wasn't talking about the biggest upset of the weekend, Dan.
Yeah,
What do you mean, mate? United struggle against everyone.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I thought, best result, biggest upset. I kind of go with that one, man. But yeah, it's
you've got to be on cloud nine, Wolfie. Surely after that one, massive result.
mate. I've just, you know what it is? It's these entitled Liverpool fans who are so sensitive about the world when it comes to their club. If everything's going okay and you praise them, they love you, but when you school them, every excuse under the sun comes out. That's why I need the shades tonight. I mean, the fact that they're all hiding behind this international break, this jet lag that their players have had, as if they've been flown around the world on EasyJet, man. And the disrespect they show Forest. We had 13 players away on international duty out in South America, Africa, all over the world. So, give me your next excuse. Oh, we always come back really out of shape from an international break. Well, that's a you problem, not a me problem. The biggest mistake was they underestimated Nuno, his tactics, and they were hiding behind these 3 easy results they've had already this season. No offense, Dan. And it was just a case of they went there expecting Forest to be tickled and rolled over. Nuno put on an absolute masterclass in tactics, annulled the middle of the park. And Slot is so stupid. He's like a broken slot machine, man. He kept trying to invert Trent into the middle, into this mid-block that Forest had going on. And he had no clue. We left him the space out wide for Salah and for Diaz, but we had Einar there and we had Moreno, who just cleaned them up. They had no way through. And now the Liverpool fans are crying that Forest parked the bus. I don't think there's Liverpool fans that understand football then. Forest did not go in on a low block formation. Look at the average positions. Our defence was nearly on the halfway line. Forest just out-tacticked Liverpool and that freaking fraud of a Dutch Boldman. And for once, I'm not talking about Ten Hag. I'm talking about Slot. He's been found out. It's the way, Dan. You must have seen it after the Man U match. He did that interview with Sky Sports. And everyone was like, look at him. He's figured out Man U in 2 minutes. Where was the interview of Nuno after we beat him at Anfield? I didn't see that. Where's the respect that Nuno deserves for it on how he unpicked Slot's tactics? Or was Slot's tactics so obvious that it doesn't need an interview afterwards? And then what does Nuno do? He changes it up after 70 minutes. He looks at it. It's clear Liverpool could be there all day. They're never scoring a goal. And he brings on secret weapon Callum Hudson-Odoi. And everyone knows Callum Hudson-Odoi, man. He has that cut-in finesse locked down. You do not show him on the inside. Brings on Bradley that the Liverpool fans last year was saying, if Trent ever leaves, we've got Bradley to replace us. But where was the homework done on that? Cuts inside Bradley, finesses it round, puts Alisson on his backside, 1-0. And like I said, they could have played until now and they still weren't going to score because they were clueless. And then Slot's tactics after that, what does he do? He looks on his bench. Anyone who's, got a number higher than 5, he just chucked them on the pitch. He ended up with, I think, Van Dijk left at the back. And they still couldn't break us down. The best chance they had was the chance Matt Sells gave them. It was like we were toying with them. Matt Sells nutmegged himself and decided to do some spinneroonie and flick it off the line. He's like, no, Liverpool. That's as close as you're going to get, boys.
There. You did get lucky there, Wolfie.
It was a no-look clearance from Sells. And that was it. Game, set, and match. Liverpool, shut up. Forest are undefeated still, not Liverpool. And that's the thing that's annoying me, boys. I'll finish off with this. All the narratives after Liverpool's unbeaten run comes to an end. None of the headlines say Forest continue their unbeaten run to the Premier League season. Same with obviously my boys from the Northeast there as well. So yeah, I'm happy. It was well deserved. Liverpool fans, go do one. Suck on that humble pie and humble yourselves.
Strong words there from Wolfie. Fair play to you. You
I'd say these
deserve
off because I can't see shit.
I had to take mine off. I was sat here like bloody Ray Charles. I was like, where the fuck am I?
It's bright.
What do we think, boys? Are we in full agreement with what Wolfie said? Well, what did we make of the result as it was coming through? Because I'm not going to lie. I was like, I think we were in the loan chat. Was like, wow, this is like,
shock.
I'm not gonna lie, I was shaking my bum for that result. Mate. When I saw that you guys went 1-0 up, I was shaking so violently I almost got arrested by the police. The reason why I was shaking my bum was simply because I've been warning Liverpool fans all season. Dan, you know we've been warning Errol on
Correct.
We've
Correct.
been telling this brother, Man United have played Liverpool played no one. No disrespect, Dan, you know I love you to bits, but Man United it's been so far. You know, they played Ipswich and Brentford. Woohoo. And I even went as far as to say, if I was in charge, I probably would have had 9 points. And for me, I've been saying, and I think what Liverpool fans, where they go wrong is they keep looking at their squad. And I keep saying to them, yeah, your squad is great, but I don't trust any manager from the Eredivisie League. I'm not being funny. Ten Hag is a madman. This Arne Slot is a madman. I predicted Tottenham to finish above Liverpool. Everybody looked at me like I'm talking in some sort of gibberish. And I said to them, trust me, once this Slot, what does managers want to do in a new club? They want to imprint their style of play. They want to bring in their players. And as soon as you take away the Klopp effect and you bring in the Slot effect, you're going to see a disaster. Nottingham Forest have never won at Anfield, by the way. That's a scope that we have to give to Slot. And there's going to be many more scopes this season. So for me, I was happy because I feel vindicated. And let me just tell you this, it doesn't stop there. Everyone get ready for the express train. Newcastle and Liverpool games used to be one of the best games I used to watch in the Prem. During the days of Stan Collymore, Shearer, the 4-3s. You know what I mean? I reckon you're going to slap these guys 4 or 5-3 this season. Not financial advice, but I'll put a cheeky tenner in it that we're going to see a 4-3 Newcastle win.
Aren't you down a tenner from your bet last weekend, though? It's just you're going to be hemorrhaging money at the moment.
Mate, honestly, it's better to have loved and lost than to never loved at all. When you're looking at a Liverpool team like this, you better just go in there and go for the kill, mate.
Shouldn't you be playing for the Liverpool? You should be happy if Liverpool won, though, because you're going to be competing more with Forest at the end of the season, no?
No.
Well, yeah, he thinks they're going to be at the top end, so it makes sense.
Adam, you're starting to shake your bum as well because you're getting a bit too excited by Brighton. Okay, let me tell you this. I've been saying it. I would rather start slow and finish strong than start strong.
Yeah.
Still on for third, Dead? Or...
I don't mind this, but wait for my club to start
going well.
Deji, last time we were on together, it was me and you, wasn't it? I seem to remember saying that we had our doubts over Liverpool. I remember us getting shot down over it. And this result, I mean, Wolfie, you know, we were speaking about it, weren't we? I mean, when you watch the game, what did you have these concerns about Liverpool during the game? Like, were they not as strong as what you thought they were going to be? And did it look like they had no plan B? Because to me,
they were embarrassing.
Like no plan B.
They were completely embarrassing. They just did not know how to penetrate our defense. And by the way, shout out to our back four. A lot of people were predicting Forest to play a back five. Nuno was like, screw that. We're going back four. Murillo and Milenkovic were just like a brick wall. You know, move aside Virgil van Dijk, man. Seriously, it was just a complete joke. We completely outclassed them in defense. And then once you could see Slot didn't realize that the plan was to block out in the middle of the park. And instead of doubling up with Trent and Salah down one end, when he had no clue to do that, Nuno was like, okay, now it's time for us to go on and win it. And that's exactly what happened. For the game, obviously, I was worried. It's Liverpool. It's been since 1969 since we've beaten them at Anfield. And during the game, honestly, apart from the in-game nerves you have, because I'm sure everyone has it, it's your team, you expect something to blow up at some point. But the further on it got into the game, the more I was like, is this it? This is the great Anfield, the great Anfield atmosphere. It's an absolute joke, man. I mean, he shouldn't be called Slot, man. They should...
Do you know what I think as well with it? Like you look at teams when they have great managers, when it's not going well, the passion from the manager on the sideline will drag that team through. You've seen it so many times with Fergie. You've seen it with Klopp. You've seen it with Pep. You've seen it with Wenger. You've seen it with Jose Mourinho. You've seen all these managers do it. We spoke about this yesterday, Deji. I didn't see that with Liverpool. I looked at the players, and they looked at a manager to what do we do, and there was nothing back. There was zero passion back. There was just a bloke stood there, hands in pockets, looking completely lost. Now, this could be a blip. Of course it could. It could be a one-off. He could lick his wounds and go, right, okay, I won't be caught like that again. But at the same time, if he's being found out already by managers, if Nuno's found him out and people have already found out how he plays, we obviously didn't, then this could go really bad really quick for Liverpool. And this is talking from someone who 100% has gone through it with Ten Hag. Liverpool fans have said, "Oh, we'll give him this time. We'll do this." No chance. If they fall off a cliff, those fans will turn. They'll turn like that. They will turn like that because they've had Klopp for so long. They've had the passion. They've had the man who's brought the city into his heart and given so much back. They won't get the chance. They won't get the chance.
But can I just pick up also on the fact that, big up to Wolfie and Nottingham Forest, because you know what? They gave Nuno another chance. I liked Nuno, and then he went through this barren run. But the way that the Spurs fans wanted to get rid of him, it's a bit like you and I when he was at Arsenal. Good managers don't just become rubbish overnight. Sometimes they need time. And one of the things I really like about Nottingham Forest is the fact that I've always rated Hudson-Odoi. And Dan, when you guys sold Elanga, I thought, what the heck are you man doing? Why are you selling him? He's a great winger. And I just love to see these players who people cast out on, who were discarded by the so-called bigger teams, come back and bite them. And I think those two lads have a point to prove. My hope for you, Wolfie, is keep them as long as you can. Because I think Nottingham Forest are going to have a good season this season, especially with those two wingers.
They're getting Morgan Gibbs-White as well, Deji. Morgan Gibbs-White was just class. That guy is quality.
Well, Man City are after him now, apparently. They're monitoring him, which...
Yeah, but is he really going to go and play for a championship team next season? 1-1-5.
Get it in there, and there's no Man City representative. Chelsea, Dan, want to come to you just on Chelsea, on Liverpool and Forest before we move on. Look, what did you make of the result? But in particular, focusing on Liverpool, are Liverpool fans, do they need to be worried by what they saw at the weekend, or was it just the case of they were just outclassed by Forest?
Yeah, I think Nuno got his tactics spot on, and I think it's a quick learning curve that Arne Slot's going to have to go through here, because that's the level of the Premier League that you don't see in the Eredivisie, where they maybe play 4 or 5 big games a season. I think you look at Nottingham Forest, and people would say, "Oh, they're probably not able to compete with a Liverpool side." But actually, when we played them at the end of last season, I was very impressed, front to back, very, very good side. Yeah. And they're no mugs at all. And it didn't help Arne Slot and Liverpool that 3 of their probably most recognisable best players dropped absolute stinkers. I think their 3 best players gave away the ball total of like 80 times or something like that. So they had some real, like Salah was one of them. And they had a real off day. And I just think they could have played that game a number of times and just not won it. And credit to Forest where it's due, because they've started the season magnificently well. and Arne Slot's going to have to learn on the back of that one. And it won't be the only game he has this season that will be like that, I'm sure.
Can I just add one thing, boys? Something that no one's mentioned. I'm not talking here, I'm talking in general. Our starting 6 and 8 were out. Sangare and Danilo. That's Nuno's number 1 choice in midfield. You didn't hear us crying about it. We got on with it. Ward-Prowse came in. I thought he was fantastic. The way he was just calm on the ball, pinging out passes and everything. Exactly like Dan said. There, boys, man. Trent, 31 misplaced passes. Yeah. And again, Liverpool are hiding behind that as if they played the bad game. It was us and the pressure we put on in their midfield and against their attack that made them look bad. I'm not having this other way around. Liverpool had an off day or whatnot. I would be confident to go there next week and still get the same result. That's how well we played.
that's why I asked the question, because I'm not going to say I watched all the game. I was kind of flicking through whenever there was a goal, where it got kickoffs, legal means, of course, just checking through all the games. But from what I watched in that game at Anfield, I'm not going to lie, Forest were outplaying Liverpool for long spells of what I watched. So that's why I wanted to ask the question, and that it seems to match up.
Do you know something, Eric? Nuno's got a point to prove, because what happened with him at Spurs, that happened quick and fast. He went from being manager of the month at the start to gone. Do you know what I mean? So this guy's come back with an absolute point to prove, because I think most of us, when Forest appointed him, all went, really, Nuno? They've got rid of Cooper and they're bringing Nuno. I don't see how that works. So he's been given the time already this season to sort through the players he wants, which he's done. Obviously we can take that away. And I think a Nuno, remember, a Nuno Wolves side was solid. Was hard to break down, and they were compact, exactly that, and they knew exactly what they're doing. Took him into Europe, for Christ's sake. So we're not talking about some guy who doesn't know what he's doing. This guy is Premier League proven. He's got the experience. So I think this season they can absolutely push on and do something. I mean, what they can do, I'm certainly not after 4 games going to sit here and say, pie in the sky things, but absolutely, I'm interested to see where this Nottingham Forest team goes now. I really am, especially as completely right with what Wolfie said. They've got a lot of international players there. They're not. This isn't a team that have got maybe 1 or 2 going. This is a team that when international break comes round, their team goes. Do you know what I mean? So we've got to see where this lies. Because another thing, look at the teams that have come up this season, okay? Look at the teams that have come up. People were already expecting Forest at the start of the season to be one of the teams struggling down there. So I feel like Nuno, I feel like the pressure's off Nuno this season. I feel like he can go out there, do his style of play, which we saw at Anfield, and actually try and enjoy it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, can I just add one thing on that, Dan? You're absolutely spot on about what you said about Nuno. But I just want to add on to that, within the Forest fan base as well, there was this Cooper cult going on. Like, when Cooper was sacked, people still would have had him. I wasn't in that boat, and if that was people's thinking, fair play, because of what obviously he did getting us promoted after 23 years. So not only has he had to win over the critics externally, he's had to do it internally as well. And for Nuno, Saturday was a breakthrough day. I've seen a lot of these diehard Cooperites who have now said, hands up, fair play, I can see what Nuno's doing. We've seen a professional preseason, which we didn't see in the last 2 seasons. We've seen a cracking start to the season. I would argue Forest should be on maximum points right now. I really do. We were unlucky against Bournemouth to concede late, and Wolves scored a worldie against us. Outside of that, we'll be like, don't you laugh, Adam. Don't you laugh. You're coming next week, mate. Right?
It's just a bit of a smirk. I'm finding this, how many games have we played this season?
4.
4 games. Because a lot of takes for 4 games.
Yeah.
And how many shots did you have against Liverpool in the first half?
None.
Yeah.
How many goals did we get? Who got the points?
No, and you deserve it. All the power to you. I'm not going to begrudge you 3 points because you're not going to get them this weekend. But I'll tell you,
that was Ipswich, mate.
Like,
that was Ipswich.
I've got no love lost for Liverpool, but they've scored 7 goals. They've conceded 1 goal so far this season. I know the opposition hasn't been great. I think they'll be fine. I don't think Slot's been found out. It's just one of those frustrating games. This is Nuno's thing. He organises teams well. He plays defensive football. It's not as you say, it's not a low block. Everyone sat back. He plays solid defensive football. So I didn't work at Spurs, and it wasn't popular at Spurs. Managing a club like Forest is great for him. I think it's a really good fit. But at the same time, let's get some perspective back that we've played 4 games. I don't think it's.
So when do we start counting them? When do we start counting them?
No, you can count. No, you just got to be prepared to look back on this in 20 games and be like, oh, wow, we really didn't know jack shit, did we?
So where do you
we know more than we did 4 games ago.
Where do you see them, Adam, where do you see them finishing then?
Forest?
No, Liverpool.
And Forest.
I think Liverpool are going to be a Europa League club this year.
So is that not a success then? That's no success, is it?
No, but I think they'll be fine based on where the expectations are after losing Klopp, and their squad is in a bit of a transition period, right? The competition for the top 2 spots, I think, is pretty much, we'll roughly know where that's going to be for the most part. I don't know if they're necessarily going to be able to do 3rd or 4th. I think they could get 4th, but there's just so much competition at the top end of the table at the moment. I think they'll be fine.
I'm not sure Liverpool fans would be happy with Europa League, though, Adam. I don't think any Liverpool want Champions League. Fans want Champions League. They've been in it for so long now. I just don't think they'll deem that a success. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. There's going to be that transition. That team is aging, and let's not forget the players that are out of contract at the end of the season. But I don't know, I don't know.
But it's quite a lot of points to drop, isn't it, to move down to Europa League? Like, I'm not sure I see that happening with the players they've got in that squad.
But how many sides claim this year that they expect Champions League football? 6, 7?
Liverpool were established. And
they were established. Liverpool were established.
But they still have Mohamed Salah. They still have Virgil van Dijk. They still have Trent. They still got Alisson. They got unbelievable players. Gravenberch is having a fantastic season to start. I'm sure they'll be challenging for the Champions League. They really haven't dropped off too much. And like you said, it's only 4 games in, but they've only let in 1 goal.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. I agree with you. I think they're going to be fine. I just don't think they're going to be amazing.
But do you have to be amazing to get top 4 anymore? Because I'm not sure that you do. I think you have to be amazing to win the league.
Looking for Larry.
I don't know, though, Dan. Look at the teams like Newcastle and Villa.
I agree.
I think it's going to be more competitive now.
Hear me out on this, right? Chelsea were very close to being able to get top 4 at the end of last season, and we were horrific for the majority of the season.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Spurs as well.
Yeah, exactly.
We're only 8 points away.
We all had a lot of blips and managed to get very close to that. I feel like Liverpool were able to be far more consistent than what I think the other teams around
Liverpool of Klopp were far more consistent. Liverpool
they're still made up of fundamentally a very similar group, Dej.
Yeah, but that group would never lose to Nottingham Forest at home.
Yeah, but they might. They've
they lost to us at the City Ground, mate, under Klopp.
Yeah, they lost to you at the City Ground, but they wouldn't lose at Anfield.
Still Klopp.
By the way, people talk about the Anfield atmosphere. The last time I was there, I didn't rate it.
It's fake. It's fake.
Yeah,
it's 100% fake.
It's dropped off. It's dropped off massively.
Yeah,
massively.
I've had libraries that are louder, mate.
I don't know many away fans that have actually gone to that ground and said, "Wow, what an atmosphere!" Past the never, will never walk alone. Like,
and that's all speakers. That's all speakers, mate. Yeah.
That part, like Chris, I know you've been in the away end as well, more recent than me. So like you'll know more. So it's like that part, never walk alone. It sounds amazing, fantastic. After that, on everything.
Like on the 2-1, mate. When obviously Liverpool scored in the last minute, I was shocked because like the biggest roar during the game was when they got a corner. As in, like, the crowd were trying to get behind the team, which is brilliant. Like, it was a great atmosphere at that point. But all through the game, it was quiet. And what shocked me the most, and it almost felt like they kind of knew that they were on the wane a little bit. This is how it felt to me anyway. When they scored that last-minute winner against us, like, the venom from the fans, the home fans, they were proper, like, made up. And I was thinking, this is little old Newcastle. Just got the takeover. Little old Newcastle. And, they got a last-minute winner against us. And you'd think they just won the cup. Like, it was unbelievable.
Chris, it was nasty though, wasn't it? It was nasty. It's not like they're celebrating that they scored. It's like, up yours, we scored. That's what I'm noticing about these Liverpool fans. Yeah.
I was going to ask, boys, just before we move on, do you think, Adam, you mentioned about Liverpool, Europa League would be like a good finish for them, and fans may well accept that. Do you think it'll have any bearing if they were to miss out on Champions League on Salah, Van Dijk, and who's the one? And Trent all being out of contract? Do you think that'll have any impact if they don't get Champions League?
Yeah, massively. But it's not like the money's necessarily going to go away from a wage standpoint, because then you start having the conversation like with Dan at United, right? They're still attracting those top tier players, even if they're not qualifying for Champions League football, just because of the stature of the club and what it means. I think short term, though, I think some of the players that are going to be at the end of the contract can move on. You players that are towards the twilight of their careers aren't going to want to sit around and waste another season, 2 seasons, and just see what happens. So, yeah, absolutely. Look, I understand that Liverpool fans are probably going to say we have to be aiming for 3rd, at worst 4th. But again, like I said, how many clubs are going to say that this season? That's what every top 10 side is saying.
Yeah. If you're looking at Van Dijk and Salah and Trent, looking at them being considered some of the best players in the world in their positions and what they can do, they're not going to want to sit on their laurels. They're not going to want to miss out on Champions League football, even for one season, particularly Salah and Van Dijk, because they're coming towards the end of their career. It's going to be crucial for Liverpool, in my opinion.
Even with Champions League, you could make the point that they've struggled to attract some of the players they've been after in the transfer market as well for the last few seasons.
So
last two definitely with Lavia, with Caicedo, the boy from Spain in this season suddenly changed his mind.
Jude Bellingham seemed like a done deal up until they missed out.
I absolutely loved that. Listening to Liverpool fans all season saying, "Jude, he's coming. Oh, he's gone to Madrid. Bollocks."
It's quite funny, isn't it, that you can go from Birmingham and still turn down Liverpool. It's quite funny, man.
Look, we've held off long enough. And Wolfie, you deserve that big up for that result at the weekend. No doubt.
Appreciate
it. Look, we're going to turn our attentions to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the second biggest Super Sunday. The 4:30 was a little bit bigger, but the North London derby wasn't too bad.
I did take issue with the fact that the Wolves Newcastle game was after the North London derby. I mean, who did that? I mean, that's got to be
you're a bunch of alkies, mate. That's why.
You know what I mean? Crazy, but yeah.
But just before we get into it, I think have we got a little reminder?
Yeah, we've got. If we just go back to the future a bit for a second.
I like Ange Postecoglou. I understand what he's trying to do with my club, the football, the domination in the location. But if we lose on the weekend, I will be asking questions about Ange Postecoglou. I will be calling him up. And I would have to say he might have to leave my club, because for me, it's a disgrace. The North London derby, even if our team was whack, we always have to put in a performance. If we lose on the weekend, I'm not... Mate, someone has to lose their job. Either someone's coming off YouTube or someone's coming out of my club, but someone's got to go.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
World face domination.
That's for Japanese fans.
They're coming for you, mate.
They've
Everyone's
done him
coming for you,
so
brother.
dirty. Yeah.
Now, look, we're going to get your thoughts on the game and everything else there, Jen. I know we've not got you for long. However, interesting. Someone's got to lose their job. Either someone from YouTube or someone in the management loses their job. Are you still of that mindset?
Yes, I am. And you know what? Funny enough, I totally forgot I said that. But that's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying since the game. Someone's got to go. Either myself or Postecoglou's got to. What I have done though since then is I've given Postecoglou a 3-match grace. I'm expecting a result from him against Hove, Brentford, and Man United. If he can get a result, I think he buys himself some time. I might even throw Brighton in there as well. They need a good slapping. If he can do that,
this has changed. If he can get a result,
but the reason why I'm doing if, buts, and maybes is because I saw a Arsenal team that was there for the taking. I mean, my kids on a Sunday would have done a dutty on that Arsenal team. An Arsenal team that showed respect to my club. I mean, I felt like I was in medieval England, where we had, the kind of the peasants and we had, the kind of aristocrats, the way Arsenal dropped with their little 11 players behind the ball. I mean, it was almost an act of worship, the way that these brothers were so low with their low block. But with all the domination in the location, definitely Pete and co, there was no penetration. And for me, that's unforgivable. Unforgivable. I was right, though. I had said a number of things. I said Saka, Starboy, ain't going to do nothing against you, Dogie. I've got Arsenal fans shaking their bum, but he got the assist. He got the assist from a corner. Out on the pitch, he was nowhere to be seen. In terms of actual clear-cut chances on goal, apart from Martinelli, and that wasn't a clear-cut chance because he kind of curved the ball into my keeper's hand. I don't really remember Arsenal having any decent chance on goal, and I don't even remember Saka having a shot on goal. So it meant that the high line that everyone was shaking their bum for, the high line, Arsenal going to do the high line, they didn't. Tottenham dominated the game. The fact that Arsenal had to give Tottenham respect and say, you know what, we can't go toe-to-toe with you. We know that you're a better footballing team, so we're going to sit back and hope for the best. It's plaudits to them because it worked out in the end. But actually, on another day, it might not have worked. Where I'm upset is that there were 3 key areas in my team that needs to be sorted out. First and foremost, we know that Brennan Johnson should not be starting a game for Spurs. Yeah. I was happy when he came on against Newcastle. He did a job. But I can tell you now, had he started against Newcastle, he would have done nothing. Dustier than Tutankhamun. Okay?
48 mil, babe.
Vicario is AKA vicarious liability. Can I just read out the legal definition of vicarious liability? Vicarious liability or imputed liability is a legal rule that holds a person or a company responsible for actions committed by others or their employees. That's what I bloody saw with this bloody goalkeeper. He's so jittery in goal that nobody can focus because this brother should be coming out, punching the ball, winning the ball. I saw Raya looking like safe hands. I'll take Nick Pope. I'll take anybody. But vicarious liability is so rubbish that the back line is so rattled and we were an easy target. The last one, which is unforgivable, Romero. Get this brother, send him back to Buenos Aires. Wow. Send him back to Buenos Aires. This guy only wants to turn up when he plays for Argentina, when he's there licking Messi's ass in the changing room. I've seen nothing from this brother since he's been here. He was responsible for the Leicester draw. He was responsible for us getting slapped up by Newcastle because while everybody was looking at our goal, he was too busy looking at Pope or the little shiny little red light that was behind him, donkey, and that's why we lost. And then this weekend, he was given one job. On corners, can you man mark Gabriel?
The shopper, mate.
And they scored. What a disgrace. Yeah. So for me, get rid of Romero. If Postecoglou sorts that out, he can stay in the job. And that's why I entitled my little thing earlier, time for change, because those changes need to be made. If he's not ready to make those changes, I want to see Dragusin over Romero now for the next Premier League game. Vicario, I want to see another goalkeeper come in. I mean, Newcastle had 2 decent keepers, Dubravka, Pope. They're decent.
No.
We've only got blood.
If you got Black Demas, mate.
You know what?
If you want Dubravka, you can have him. You can have him for free.
That's the Carabao Cup winning Dubravka. I love you, know, mate. United.
This guy is so nasty. And Brennan Johnson, I do feel like it's manager's duty to protect players. Poor Brennan Johnson's had to switch off his Instagram because he's been getting abused by Tottenham fans. And I'm not going to lie, I was included online as well. The thing is, play him in his strongest position. Play him when he comes on. So for me, it was dusty. We lost. It's shameful. And I'm bitterly disappointed.
Can we have some clarification points, please?
Yeah.
You said he's got 3 games. Are you talking 3 dubs or 1 dub in those 3 games?
He needs to get 3 wins. He needs to beat Hove, Brentford, and United. If he can't beat them 3 teams, then he's dusted in Tutankhamun and he needs to come out.
Deji, you were talking about a guy who guarantees he wins something in his second season. Like guarantees.
You know what?
I've got it. This is what he said. So I correct myself. I don't usually win things. I always win things in my second year.
I think
the famous words.
I love his chest. I love it. And I think he possibly can. But the problem is the way we've started and the manner that we've performed, we do look toothless. At no point did we genuinely look like scoring. But at the same time, Arsenal did not look like scoring. I mean, a lot of Arsenal fans try and pretend that they did some woo. This was the great Arteta tactic. No, you shut up. You sat back and you had a corner and Gabriel scored. That was it. You did absolutely F all during the game. My thing is, though, with Postecoglou, is that he's run out of time now, in my opinion. If he gets a result tomorrow and a result against Brentford, he's buying himself time as he buys our way up the table. But if he
So if you lose tomorrow, you're Ange out. Just to clarify.
If we lose tomorrow and Brentford on the weekend, he has to go.
You said 3 dubs. That's why I wanted the point of clarification. Which would mean you lose tomorrow, you're Ange out.
If we lose tomorrow, it needs to come out. Because for me, I'm not being funny, and I think you all will do the same. If you've had the sort of start that we've had, what do you use the Carabao Cup for? Even if you don't care about it, you know you need to win. You need to win the next game at least, just to pipe down the naysayers. He loses that game, the naysayers turn into bloody dragons. Do you get what I'm saying? And then it's going to be unattainable. So for me, he has to win tomorrow. Yeah, it's an all win. It's all or nothing tomorrow.
Football's a crazy, crazy game, isn't it? This time last year, we're all saying this guy, he's come in, he's brightened up the Premier League. This guy is the breath of fresh air that we've needed. He's great with the media. He's this, he's that. 12 months later, people are saying maybe it's time for him to go. And this is the Premier League. This is the beast that the Premier League is.
Not even that. With Vicario, like you're talking about Vicario now, Deji. I know Tottenham fans, and Toby being one of them, that was fighting to the death about him being the best goalkeeper in the Premier League.
I always thought he was a liability from pre-season of last season. But then what happened was he made some great saves, dare I say, in the game against Man United. But if I'm being brutally honest, in the game against United, we were bloody lucky. Fernandes should have finished off his dinner. You know what I mean? He made a couple of good shots. He's a good shot stopper. But I just think when you're playing in the Premier League, there are some basic expectations you expect of your players. And I'll just name a couple if you guys don't mind. So in terms of goalkeepers should be able to come and collect a ball across from a corner or a free kick. That's just got to be standard. If you can't do that, then what are you doing? And then players should be able to bloody shoot, no? I mean, these are just standard things. But the other thing is, if you're a defender, and I'm looking at Newcastle, I'm looking at Brighton, what the Van Heck? You know what I mean? He's what a player for Brighton. Do you know what I mean? Bloody hell, look at the Chelsea backline. Look at Nottingham Forest backline. What you expect is that your defense is concentrated for 90 minutes. I have you know that none of the goals Spurs have conceded was due to Spurs really being opened up. The narrative is there was a lapse in concentration. Premier League players suffering from lapses in concentration. That is madness. But that's what's happened with Romero. He switches off. He thinks about his dinner. He thinks about times when he was growing up in Buenos Aires. And by the time he gets back to reality, it's a goal.
I'm a little
do you not think that Spurs now as well? I mean, I look at Son. Son seems to have aged in the last 6 months. He seems. In the North London derby, I was expecting him to do something. I feel like there's too much pressure on him now. It's like he has taken the mantle. He is the guy that's going to create something. I didn't see it.
Son was never going to be that guy to take the mantle. I actually asked for Spurs to sell Son in the summer, partly because I knew that he's getting old. He's going to be 33 this season. And whether you like it or not, even Ronaldo,
older than I thought.
No, allegedly, mate. Apparently, he's knocked a year or two off his actual real age.
Really? It's possible. I mean, the African players do that all the time, to be honest. Partey, in my opinion, is 48.
Over Fenway Martins. Who's the more money?
Yeah. Martins is 60 right now.
Newcastle legend.
Do you know what I mean? So, my thing is, I wanted him gone, not because he's not a legend, but you got to prepare for when they lose form. We needed to prepare for when we lost Kane, whether we lost Kane to another club or when Kane eventually loses his form. That's just common sense. Imagine Son, we don't have a credible replacement for Son. How?
Solanke, mate. Solanke, you were bigging him up 2 weeks ago.
No, but Solanke is not a replacement for Son. Solanke is a replacement.
You got Werner the Burner then, mate.
Yeah,
the Burner.
I'm not going to lie. I've never felt... Look, if you meet me in real life, you know that really deep down, I am a bit of a pussy. I never want to go to jail. I'll be honest with you. I never want to go to jail. But if I see Timo Werner in the petrol station, I'm going to jail. I'm going to fly kick this. You know what I mean?
He'll swing and miss you as well.
I am confused. Did you win or lose at the weekend?
We
I just
lost.
want to check. You lost. But
Yeah.
according to the possession stats, you got 64% possession to their 36.
Yeah.
Isn't by your rules that means you won?
Yeah, look, the domination in the location, Wolfie, was definitely there, and I think
You
you
need
heard
medication thinking about
Well,
that, mate.
I don't know. I think you got to drop
I think-
football, bro.
look, the only positive, if there's any positive to take from the game, is that Arsenal showed Tottenham a lot of respect. They came to my gaff and they said, "Hey, Tottenham Hotspur, we're not on your level when it comes to playing this sport called football. So we're going to sit back and we're going to hope for the best." So Arsenal fans shaking their bum like they did something special, like it was some sort of tactical masterclass, are all, in my eyes, Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles. They didn't see. In fact, a lot
Would
of
you
them
have taken it though? If it was reversed right now, you won 1-0 with 36% possession, or are you so fixated on your freaking location, Dion Dublin under the hammer shirt that you would have preferred to lose with the location?
Wolfie, look, I think all of us, judging by everyone's faces tonight, we are lovers first of the game and then results second. And I think part of
I
the
can't
problem
believe you said that. I can't believe you said
part of the problem that we're seeing in the Prem is that some of the fans have become a little bit like the people who have taken charge of our clubs, where we're thinking more about the results and the money than the beautiful game. For me, it's the fact that they've extended the Champions League to 4 teams. I mean, in school, second meant you didn't win. Yeah, now we're giving
the losers
get Champions League spots for being in bloody fourth, and then people are getting upset when I'm saying that the FA Cup doesn't mean anything when finishing fourth brings in more money for the clubs than an FA Cup win. I mean, it's not my fault. So for me, I love it when teams play well and win. That's why we love the Brazil of old. That's why we love the team that won in 1966. You play, you win by ball possession. That's why I love the Liverpool team under Klopp. You're playing good football and you're winning. This Conte Mourinho ball is dusty. You know, I like Brighton under their new gaffer. Mate, he's playing a higher line than Spurs.
What's his name?
Is on
What's
the
his
inside.
name?
I don't know. I forgot his name.
There you go.
Begins with a H. He's no, Adam, what's his name? It begins with a H, right?
Herzl.
Herzl, yeah. What
Basically,
the man
that, yeah.
is on the inside. He's on the halfway line, if not on the other team's side of the pitch. Do you know what I mean? So I love that style of football. This kind of stinking out the game. And can I just say this for all the lovers of football? And this is something. Imagine if all of our teams did what Arsenal did on the weekend. Is that what you want to see?
That's exactly what Wolfie wanted to see, because that's what happened.
No, didn't. You didn't watch it then.
So for me, I want to see teams play football the right way and do it. I swear Pep moaned about that when he first arrived to the Prem. He was like, people aren't playing proper football. People are just sitting back.
Yeah.
I think there's a balance though, Dej, where sometimes it's gone too much the other way as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Agreed.
Look, Chelsea, Dan, just before we move on, because we're going to cover Brighton, because I know Adam may need to shoot in a sec, but you're the other sort of big club in London. You're watching this, arguably. You're watching this. You're watching the Tottenham downfall. Deji just talked about Mourinho and Conte, 2 managers that have been manager of your club as well. What do you make of the Tottenham performance? What do you make of Tottenham
get battered everywhere they go?
I just think tactically, Ange has got to the point now where I'm no longer seeing the benefit of what he's decided to do tactically. And I think when you get to that point, you have to make a decision that you either stick with it and be stubborn like he's proven to be, or you adapt. And ultimately, bar the 10 games that they went unbeaten, his win percentage is 45%. He's kept like 5 clean sheets in like 35 games or something like that. It's not good enough to be making statements about winning things in your second season unless you're willing to adapt. And when you look at the teams that Ange has beaten as well, I think the only team that are above them is Liverpool. And I think they got, and maybe Man United. Other than that, they're teams that have been relegated. Sheffield United and teams along that sort of ilk. And it's not good enough from Ange, and he has to adapt. This isn't Scotland or the Australian national team or Japan. anymore. And there's a saying around adaptation and stuff, and I think it's like fail to adapt, fail to something, but I can't remember what it is, and that would be perfect right now. But
prepare to fail or fail to prepare. That's what you're looking for, Dada.
I'm not sure because I think it's about adapting. I'll have a look, and if I find it, I'll put it in the chat. But I genuinely think that it's time for change at Spurs, because there was a lot of possession and a lot of opportunities for Spurs to be brave, and they just weren't doing it. And I do feel a little bit for Ange, because I think there's some good players there, like we said about Son, who aren't quite at the level that he probably thought and expected them to be at. Maddison's another one that doesn't quite look at it at the moment. And Romero from that corner that was woeful. That's not the first set piece that Tottenham have looked ropey on, though, is it, under Ange?
Yeah. Deji.
Question for Chelsea, Dan, for a second, because sorry, Chris.
Go on, mate.
We went last week or the week before. We went to Wolfie. We had the Ange comparisons, but Chelsea, Dan, Zielinski. Did you get that a bit?
Nah, not that. Who's Zelensky's the Ukraine guy? No,
Ukraine guy. Yeah.
Ah, well, I haven't.
Well played, Dan. Well played, Zelensky. I see what you're doing there. Who's this? Yeah, I get it.
Ex-comedian as well, wasn't he?
Madrid's biggest fan.
Well, I was a comedian. Yeah, you're right.
Love it.
Sorry,
Deji, I just wanted to quickly ask you if, and obviously anyone else on the panel as well, if Ange got the bullet tomorrow, who are you going for?
You know, for me, I mean, I don't like this idea of so-called bigger teams going in at the smaller clubs and disrupting what they're doing. But I would look at Glasner, and I would look at the Bournemouth fella, Areola. I think similar style of football, still quite progressive, but with their football, it's more measured. Rather where Postecoglou is so gun-ho, Glasner seems to be a bit smart. He does make the adaptations you're looking for. And Areola's got Bournemouth playing a sexy brand of football. There's no way Dan can come on here shaking his bum. They deserve to get slapped 5-0 by that Bournemouth team over the weekend. And if anyone can take a team like that and completely outplay a so-called star-studded Chelsea team, then what could he do with some decent players? So for me, and I'm not saying the Bournemouth players aren't decent, but I would like to see what Areola does.
You just signed his best one for 65 million.
Well, so bring him. And he was the one to unlock Solanke, to be fair. It was under his watch that Solanke went into this kind of...
Yeah, but Deji, don't you worry in the same way when Chelsea took Potter from a small club and he failed? Did you not see that happening?
Do you know what it is? The reason why I don't see it happening...
Well, I might get a shot here. I didn't even say anything.
That was
I'm just talking factually, man. Actually.
I don't
catching strays. I'm just sat here listening, having a good time.
I can't believe it.
It's factual.
We haven't brought in any world-class players. We brought in players that can develop. We brought in a load of young lads. We brought in, there's players that he can work with. They're quite young as well. I think Spurs could be primed for Areola. The only thing is whether the expectation, where I think sometimes the expectations is what gets to the managers as well. The pressure that the chairman Levy's putting on him. If Areola was to come in and we just let him work, I think he could do a good job. But if we're asking him to get us top 4 straight away, which would be ridiculous, but not uncommon or not unheard of, then that might be what rattles him and then doesn't do a good job. But I think we don't have any big players, so I think he could do a great job.
You need a manager who can get to finals, mate. Southgate, take him.
They'll have Tuchel, wouldn't they? They pick up Chelsea managers.
Hell no. Yeah. And to be fair, Tuchel would be next in line if it was ex-Chelsea manager.
Hell no.
Southgate. I could see it.
Bring back AVB, mate. AVB, bring him back.
Southgate's a great fit for Spurs. Like, toy with the idea of winning something and then get nothing. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So, I think Deji's had it enough. I think we've given him a fair bit, and I know you might need to head off, Deji. So absolute pleasure for jumping.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Good on you for taking the hits, man. Seriously.
Yeah. Cheers, fair play. Thank you,
respect, bro. And we'll be in touch, man. We'll get you back on again. But Brighton.
How am I at the bottom? My team won. My team won the weekend. Why the hell am I at the bottom?
Nah, you're the end of match of the day, mate. And right.
What are we doing here? What are we doing here?
We should be in order here of positions on the table.
No, I'll stay where I am then. Leave me be. Leave me be.
But you are in the correct position then, aren't you?
The underdog story, boys. The underdog story.
You're where you should be, Dan. You're where you should be, mate.
There you go.
That's all
Did
right.
you just been relegated, or
With Brighton, it seems like obviously you're flying high, but tell me if I'm wrong, Adam. Obviously, it was the 0-0 draw against Ipswich. I don't think anyone, if they were putting an accumulator down, everyone would have had Brighton in there to win. Absolutely. Yeah. Does it seem a little bit deflated after that because you've been so high and playing well, and then you draw to Ipswich where you would have been expected to win? Does it seem like that at the moment? Because I'm kind of getting that feeling.
Yeah, it's a weird one, and I don't know how much you can take from this game because I think on another day this was an easy win. Because when you face the teams that come out and they just sit back, and we've been weak against this for years at this point. Doesn't matter if it's under De Zerbi, doesn't matter if it's under Potter, you name it. We don't have that same level of top-end quality where we can unlock a defense that sits super deep. And we saw that against West Ham last season, Wolves last season, and we're seeing it here against Ipswich. McKenna decided he'd come out and just let's play on the counter. Like, they did nothing for most of the game, and then they nearly scored on a run from Delap. And I think he hit the post like 65 minutes or something like that. But this was a game where we had 70% possession, 21 shots to their 6.
Domination in the nation. Or
yeah, we had domination in the location. Yeah, but just now we couldn't penetrate, as Deji so eloquently put it. Another day, I remember we didn't have João Pedro, who at the moment is our form player. He picked up a knock when he was playing for Brazil, which is an amazing thing to say as a Brighton fan. And potentially he would have been a difference maker. I think there was more good that came out of this game than bad. We saw some interesting performances. Carlos Baleba, like one of our young central midfielders, along with Yasin Ayari, both looked incredible. 2 players that aren't even considered starters in the team. And we saw our first glimpse of Ferdi Kadioglu, who we signed from Fenerbahce, who was very good for Turkey. So there's good things to come. And Evan Ferguson came back from his injury to play for us for the first time in months and months and months. I think this is just a bit of a blip. Another day, you score on one of these situations 40 minutes in, and you cruise to a 2-0 win.
Yeah. So, anyone else think it was just a blip for Brighton, or is anyone else
Nah. I think this guy's too young, mate. He's going to get found out, this manager. I don't even know his name. But then again, I don't know many of the Brighton players' names either. I just don't see.
You will do after this weekend.
Even if they all scored next week, I just don't see you as a Premier League club. You're just a plastic team, and
this is such a Deji move, Wolfie.
I'm being honest. The likes of Brighton, Brentford, those type of teams, they just got no history, man. I mean, have you ever won anything?
When he came on, he said
the Sussex Senior
I wouldn't
Cup.
know you. Remember, he came on and said, I wouldn't know you. I don't talk to anyone below 10th. And you showed him after that. But
I'm just being honest. It's not Adam's a top bloke, and I love he'll sit there and defend his boys. But I've only ever met 2 Brighton fans, him and Maz, and that's literally it. I'm surprised they can fill a stadium. So even if they beat Forest, no one cares. No one cares what Brighton do. They really don't.
Adam, what have you put in Wolfie's tea? You put some in his tea, or you put some in his burger. What's gone on?
One half decent performance where you scrap a goal against Liverpool, and he's coming in, and his bollocks have increased in size by 4 times.
Mate, those 2 starts. That's one bollock there and one bollock there, mate. It doesn't matter. What? It didn't happen. It didn't happen.
No, absolutely. You didn't see it, but look. We have been this is again, we'll talk about some history. This is a club that when I first saw them, we were playing in a kids athletic stadium
that's probably where you should still be, to be honest. Yeah,
we lost the stadiums. And the story of this club, and again, I just said we lost a player to injury because he was out playing for Brazil in international duty. This club has come leaps and bounds. You've had a good time in the past. And it remains to be seen whether you can ever come close to doing that again in your lifetime. Because
we've had a good time. That's the
I feel
point.
like that. I feel like that about Man United. To be fair, at the moment,
Isn't it, Dan? You know what I'm saying, Dan? Like our clubs have heritage.
Dan's seen some heritage though. He's actually
these
witnessed
lot,
it. You've
Dan,
read
these
about
lot
it.
try and beef up with Crystal Palace. They're just trying to find another irrelevant club. Can we pair up with you guys? No one else likes us. You know, it's just one of those things. No one cares about Brighton.
I think the altitude of where you are in the table at the moment has got in your head a little bit.
No, we've won it before, so the altitude is no problem.
You've got to adjust to where you are.
Do you know what though, Adam? I will say this: like they've done it again. Brighton have done it again. Like they have got 3 or 4 players that you listed before that they are going to, resell for a lot of money. 100%. Jai Pedro isn't going to stay there too long. I think he'll stay there this season, maybe next. But you said about breaking into the Brazil side. How much they pick him up for?
About 30,
20.
give or take, 25.
20 million. This guy's going to go for a lot of money. This guy is, and this is the model at Brighton. And I'm definitely not saying anything about Brighton because they slap us up every time we bloody play them. But what I am going to say is they seem to have this model. Like we can say they're not a Premier League club. We can say this and the other, but they have this model where they seem to make money after money after money. They seem to find these players that are in obscure. This is Football Manager in real life. They go and sign these kids from Paraguay, from Brazil, from everywhere, and they make the money. I personally feel like that they can do a lot of things, Wolfie. They've got the money behind them. This isn't funny money. This is hang on. This isn't funny money. Where people, and no disrespect to Newcastle and no disrespect to Chelsea, we've done it ourselves, where people come in and buy us and spend all this money. They're making money lucratively. Like they are absolutely bringing in these players and building that bank balance. So I can see them building, and it may fall flat in their face with this new manager. It is at the moment, that new manager bump. We see it all the time. But I tell you what, the players that this guy's been listing, I've never met Adam before. These players are going to go on and do things in football.
But not for Brighton. Not for Brighton. Brighton are just Southampton from about 15 years ago. They're now Chelsea's feeder club. That's all they are. That's where their money's come from because of that idiot Bowley. That's
Wolfie,
it.
Brighton ain't getting relegated within the next 5 years at least, mate. No chance.
People saying that about Southampton. When Southampton had Virgil van Dijk, when they sold what's his face to Arsenal, all those players, Mane, all those players.
That was 1 or 2 seasons, Wolfie, where Poch come in and they brought these players through, and it was this is consistency. They've been bringing these players through for a long time.
What's consistency? They came up and they were 17th for about 3 seasons, but that's consistently just avoiding relegation.
Well,
hang on. Whoa. Any team that comes up, if you offer any of these teams, you offered Luton, you offered Ipswich, you offered Burnley, these teams, you're going to finish 17 for the next couple of seasons, but you're going to stay up, and then you have the chance to build.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's their level at best. They, in my eyes, if they're a yo-yo team between the Premier League and Championship, they should be happy with that.
Where do you think they're going to finish, Wolfie? Where do you think Brighton are going to finish this season?
Half 15th, irrelevance of a season. I can't see them doing well.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone at the start of the season would have predicted Forest would finish above Brighton. So if you think we're low,
I did.
Then I'm sure you did.
Well, you said anyone, so technically,
Dan, I appreciate the kind words. I've always loved Man United; they're a wonderful team. But look, Wolfie, I know you're just being intentionally contentious, but
I'm not.
Actually
I
believe
swear
what
to
you're
God,
saying,
this is how I feel about Brighton. I swear to God.
The one thing I'll say, Wolfie, is that us and Brighton, we came up at the same time, like when we both got promoted from the Championship, and our kind of trajectories have kind of been together. Although we got the Champions League football, you got European football the same season in Europa League. So, we are kind of at the same way, and I do think that they have sustained it. Probably.
Who's the bigger club, Pete? Newcastle or Brighton?
What's that?
Who's the bigger club, Newcastle or Brighton?
What kind of question is that? Obviously Newcastle. What's the point of that question?
All right, again, that's what I'm talking about. You're just irrelevant. That's okay. I don't mean it offensively. I say the same about Brentford.
But let's be honest. Over the past, let's say, few decades, right? Where's Forest's expectations been? Because they've been beneath Brighton in the last 10 years in terms of expectations.
Is that when football started?
So what?
Why have you taken that arbitrary date? That's my problem with Brighton. It's like you didn't exist before then. Football didn't start when you got out of your sports club stadium or whatever it was. It started way before that.
And that's great.
You're literally making my
have some
point for me.
wonderful memories of
But
you.
Wolfie, they're run the right way. They're run like you
now.
see so many. You see so many teams that have done this journey. Bolton, you've seen Portsmouth, teams like that come up and they try and spend and they stay and it goes Pete on. They're run the right way, mate. I think you're wide of the mark.
It's a model that will fall apart. It's a model. If they don't keep unearthing a gem every year or two, or whatever it is, it will do a Southampton. That's my point. Everyone was lauding Southampton and how they found these players. They ended up
suggesting
relegated.
as an alternative, Wolfie? Just get relegated. But I don't understand.
I mean, if you do, no one would be that bothered, mate. Honestly.
I will. What I will add to this, because I do want to come to Chelsea and Man United to finish off. But the one thing I'll say is that I think we've had the conversation before, the loaded lads, about Brighton and what they've done, particularly in the summer.
Get in, Nobby.
Looking at the situation, like they are in a position where they've done something different this summer that they hadn't done previously. They've actually backed their manager with significant amounts of money. Normally they're making the money rather than actually spending it. And I think that's something to maybe look at, because you're normally, Adam, a team that buys a player young or cheap. You'll develop them and then sell them off for big, but you're actually spending more money to get those young players in. And there's no guarantee of a success there with that. It could well fall flat. But what I will say is that you've made so much money from these players that you are more than capable of sustaining.
Yeah.
Pete, but that unfortunately is a product of their success. Like where they were going and buying these young players before, they were able to pick them up for pence. Now, when these teams see a Brighton coming, they think they've seen something in this boy. They obviously know there's so that is just evident of the progress that they've made. Simple as that.
They did with Southampton, Dan. That's all they did with Southampton.
Not for that long, we've got to give Brighton credit as well, because let's not forget, they've had a couple of manager changes as well. They're doing this and they're progressing and they're kicking on.
They did it right with De Zerbi last year. De Zerbi's head was turned, no doubt about it. He thought he was going to Liverpool, 100%. And this whole thing that De Zerbi left, I think it was behind the scenes, and that you're going end of the season. You can either walk and do that. 100%, yeah, 100%. I feel like, and I think they got that right.
I'm just saying they're irrelevant. There's anyone who tells me they would specifically look for a Brighton match on a Sunday afternoon when their team's not playing is a liar.
Okay, Wolfie, let me ask you this question. And you said that they're going to finish 15th. So name me the teams that are going to finish above them then.
14 more.
Other than the obvious. Name me the teams that you think will finish above them that we're missing.
West Ham, Forest. Who else is there?
You think Fulham will?
Newcastle, huh?
Do you think Fulham will?
Fulham, yeah. Marco Silva's a quality manager. Fully rate him.
Do you think one of the three that's come up will finish above them?
No.
So obviously we're going. I think we're all in agreement. Everton, the three that have come up, and then Brighton.
No.
So
that would put them 17th, mate. Are you saying that would put them 16th? Sorry.
You're saying Wolves then? You're saying Wolves will finish above them?
Yeah, no, because I said 15th. You've got them down as if I've said them 16th.
So who's the other club who finishes below them?
That's what I mean.
I'd say Everton, the three that came up, and Brentford.
Not Wolves. Wolves who have had a horrendous start.
Wolves will turn it around. They'll get rid of the PE teacher and turn it around, so they'll be fine.
By the way, the fact that we spent 20 minutes talking about Brighton probably sort of says
this is probably the most relevant club had in the last your history. Yeah,
generally regarded as playing some of the most attractive football in the Premier League. If we go back to Deji, who, as we all know, is basically a philosopher. If there's any side you want to look at, it's playing the game to play good football. I think most people would look at Brighton among a handful of others. I think
not me.
I don't really understand your point, because if you then compare what Brighton are doing to other clubs out there, firstly, you don't have any other choice as a club that is outside of that big top, whatever you want to call it nowadays, you have to basically set up a system where you find players, you attract them to the club, you show them there's a pathway forward, and you ultimately then sell them on for more money as you build yourself up as a bigger club. There's no other way to do it. Now, there's other clubs that do that. Not every example is Southampton. I'll tell you another club that does this, Borussia Dortmund. I don't know if you've heard about them, but they do a similar thing, right? Where they bring in these players, they use a youth system, they bring in players that are less well known, they sell them on for a profit in the future. And as far as I'm aware, they do fairly well. And I don't think they're.
I'm not cussing down your model. I'm not cussing down your model.
No, you did just do that.
No, I'm saying it's not sustainable for your size. For your size,
it remains to be seen.
Dortmund's fan base is probably 10 to 20 times bigger than yours. That's the thing.
For now,
yeah. What I'm gonna do, let's park this. Let's park this because you two play each other.
We do.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm invested. I am 100% invested.
I made him relevant.
You're telling me.
I want to know why the hell I'm back in Brighton all of a sudden. Why the hell?
You're my new best friend. I'm going to send you a shirt.
Honestly, Wolfie just said nobody looks for a Brighton game at the weekend if their team are not playing. Well, I will be. That is for sure. And I think lots of
playing, mate.
I feel like I would love it if we beat you. That's what I'm feeling.
And again, I'll say to you, even if you beat us, it's irrelevant. Is my point. It's irrelevant.
Pete, Brighton are the new Joe Hendry. I believe in Brighton.
Love it.
I tell you what, though, credit to Wolfie in that it doesn't matter how absolutely ridiculous your point is. I planned to leave half an hour ago, so thank you for keeping me annoyed enough to stay and listen to your drivel. I do appreciate it.
Right, I'm enjoying it, mate.
I know if you need to go, absolute pleasure for joining us, and we will revisit this. We will revisit this. That is for sure.
If we lose at the weekend, you'll never see me again. But when we ultimately win, I'll be here.
I'll be here, win, lose or draw.
2 hours
here, win, lose or draw.
Okay.
We'll see you next week, Adam.
Cheers.
We'll be talking. That is for sure. I wanted to come to Chelsea, Man United to wrap up. Chelsea to begin with, and then of course Man United because they're back. They are back with a bang. Well, maybe we'll see. But look, Chelsea, Dan, get your thoughts and opinions on the Bournemouth game. Just because at one point it looked like you were heading for the draw. It looked like you couldn't break them down, but you just managed to sneak the win. Like what are your thoughts with regards to Chelsea's performance? Are you just taking the 3 points and running, or are there any other concerns that you've got with regards to Chelsea at this moment in time?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I think we have to take the 3 points with the situation that we've been in and the mess that the club is in right now. I think we've just got to take it, and hopefully we'll look back at that as a good 3 points because Bournemouth are a tough team. We got a 0-0 draw there last season. Like Areola's had his praises on this show already. We've seen how well he's done with that team. They play good football. There was a point where I thought we were looking at a loss. First half, when the penalty was awarded, I thought, here we go again. But Sanchez managed to pull out a save. I think actually we got, I wouldn't say lucky, but I think Bournemouth were unlucky not to come away with a point in that game. We played some okay football at times, but it probably wasn't good enough. And I feel like we saw issues with players that we've questioned before. I think Jackson had a game where that's the sort of level you see him at and you think we could probably improve there in terms of a number 9. I think we saw at times our midfield, although they were in better positions than they were against Palace, they failed really to sort of announce themselves into the game and control it at times. I think Bournemouth actually dominated the midfield battle really at times. And for the way Maresca wants to play his football, I feel like he can't be losing the midfield battle. And I've got a few question marks, but look, it's 3 points. It's a pretty uneventful game. Anthony Taylor tried his best to make it eventful with a stupid, unfair amount of yellow cards being dished out to both sides. The fact both teams have been fined for that game is just ridiculous because it really wasn't a game of that nature at all. It's broken records, I think. So
yeah,
he's a referee, I think, that we all have an opinion on now. I think he's really like putting himself out there as someone that definitely has question marks around him and whether or not he actually affects a game of football in a negative way rather than just officiating it. But a game that Chelsea just have to move on from. We've got 3 points. It could be a tougher game. when we look back at the season, and it might be 3 points that are well gained, to be honest with you.
Dan, a few things on that. So firstly, I watched the game, and the amount of yellow cards was just absolutely ridiculous. It did break the record. I think there was 14 in total. And funnily enough, I think another Premier League record was broken this weekend because there was 65 yellow cards this weekend. And when you average that out over the 10 games, that's 6.5 cards per game, which is just silly, isn't it? Like, you know, it just shows how mad the weekend was. But the 2 points I wanted to ask you, Dan, was that arguably that game that I saw at the weekend, that's the quietest I've ever seen Cole Palmer. Like, it was at times, it was like he wasn't on the pitch. And then the second thing I wanted to ask you about as well is I don't think Nkunku got the credit that he deserved for that finish. Because, like, when you watch it back, the way he uses his strength to hold the player off, but then also in one motion flick it as well. I thought it was an absolutely brilliant goal. I really, really did. And that kind of shows like those moments of quality, which hopefully, you know, you can be a bit more consistent this season. And because of the players that you've got and obviously the squad depth that you've got, that's what you pay the big money for. Because when Nkunku scored that goal, I thought that's got you the 2 extra points because it was a fantastic goal. The commentator mentioned it, but when you actually watch it back in slow motion, how he like. He puts all his body weight to the left and then flicks the ball with his right. I thought it was a brilliant finish.
Yeah, I mean, Nkunku's definitely one of the better players at Chelsea. I think he's probably the best finisher at the club. I think he's been unlucky, obviously, with injuries. And I now think he's been unlucky with the system that Maresca's got and maybe the form of other players. And he's not really had the minutes I think a player of his quality deserves. The fact that he come on and sort of bailed Maresca out, if you like, in that one might sort of persuade Enzo to give him a few more minutes going forwards, because I don't think it's been enough. We paid a lot of money for him, and he's a guy that's got numbers to back up with evidence. You know, he scored 35 goals in the Bundesliga, and I know we talk about Bundesliga tax, but there's a lot of quality there in Nkunku. He scored a very similar goal against Liverpool in our defeat against Liverpool last season. It's almost like for like in the way that he twisted and turned with his back to goal. He's an exceptional player. I think that you talk about the squad depth. We were obviously able to bring on Sancho at half-time, who had a fantastic impact on the game. It's good to just see someone like Jadon Sancho playing with a smile on his face and enjoying his football. And if he can do that at Chelsea, then I think that will benefit the England team, and I think that will benefit him and his career and his reputation for what he's sort of got in England. I think some people probably base it fully off of the Man United sort of era that he had.
Do you know, with Sancho, I said this last night and I'll say it again, I'll reiterate this. Sancho has to play for a manager who gives him love. Simple as that. We've seen it. We've seen it with his 2 spells at Dortmund, and potentially we're going to see it with you guys. At Old Trafford, he played under a few managers and there was question marks from those managers. The telling thing for me is when he went back to Dortmund, I remember their gaffer saying, this guy, we're going to have to let him do what he does. There are rules that we set with the players, but with Jadon, we know that some of these things we're going to have to relax. And I think that's the thing with Jadon Sancho. If you've got Sancho feeling the love, you're going to get a player that can do something. It was a good 45-minute cameo from him. And I've heard a lot of Chelsea fans going, you know, in fact, he's got to do it consistently, though. He's got to do it consistently. Has to.
Dan, we have the same with St. Maximin at Newcastle. St. Maximin, Hassan Ben Arfa. There's certain players, certain personalities that you've just kind of got to go, you know, these are the rules you've got to stick by, but sometimes they will go off.
Cantona were United. Cantona got away with so much. These players, they have to be managed separately.
Yeah.
I think Borussia Dortmund have been amazing at doing that with a number of players. I look at Ousmane Dembele, who's obviously had weird spells at clubs that he's been at since that move. I look at Aubameyang, obviously another player that some people have struggled to get the better of his sort of ego or how he just handles himself. Dortmund are kind of quite relaxed in that, and I think that probably is something that Sancho falls into. When you get a disciplinarian, someone like Ten Hag, I just don't think that works. And I think we've seen, haven't we, that Sancho looked far more relaxed than what I've seen him look in a Manchester United shirt the majority of performances he ever had for the club. And I think, obviously, Manchester United fans will feel like it's a shame that Sancho never worked out. But ultimately, I think that you have to be a certain type of player to succeed at Manchester United as well. And I'm not sure if Jadon Sancho is that type of player, because there's a lot of pressure on that shirt. Whereas right now, on the Chelsea shirt, as much as there is pressure, there's a lot of players of a similar level, and there's no one really nailed on into many positions. You spoke about Cole Palmer, Chris. Definitely one of the more quiet games. And I think we're at this stage right now where we're seeing if under Maresca, will he be able to get the best out of Cole Palmer with his system and the style of football that he's looking to play? Because ultimately, Poch made him the main guy and everything went through Cole Palmer last season. And I think this season already we're starting to see teams double up, triple up on Cole Palmer, leave late challenges. We saw a lot on Cole Palmer, a lot of fouls. And ultimately, that's where you see what level you're at, because of the second season, when people sort of recognise who you are and see what you're about. Eden Hazard was perfect for me. I remember that the first season, he kind of went under the radar a little bit, and then people started to pick him up in the second. And then he just went to the next level every single time. This is a huge test for Cole Palmer, because if Cole Palmer can't ride out the challenges that are coming his way this season, then quickly he'll sort of be found and where his level's at. But I also sort of question whether or not he's going to fit in a similar. He's definitely. I don't think he's man of the match.
Was he man of the match? Sancho. I think that was just a let's give him a pat on the back.
Pity as always. They always do it.
This is pathetic.
I think he had a really good impact, considering what Neto really had failed to impact the game in any way, and the difference that Sancho offered when he came on compared to Neto. They both had 2 45-minute spells. Sancho really did do enough to probably push Chelsea in the right direction. His link-up play with Cucurella was fantastic. His link-up play with Nkunku obviously led to the goal. I think he probably earned it, but to be honest with you, I don't think many Chelsea players stood out. And if you're going to give man of the match to a player on the winning side, he probably just nicked it for me. But it's not a performance that would be like making headlines if the game had been a bit better, if you know what I mean. I think it was a pretty drab game, to be honest with you.
Just before we move on, just on the Cole Palmer conversation, that I think it's an interesting one that's been brought up, because obviously nobody expected him to have the season he had last season. He was absolutely outstanding and got all the plaudits, rightly so. But it's going to be interesting for me watching him to see if he can recreate that. And I think, like, for example, Chris made the point, and rightly so, that he didn't have a great game, and I thought the same as well. I think everybody did. But that's what the pressure is going to start being put on him now, is when he's not having those star-studded games, when he's not getting the 2 assists per game or the 2 goals per game. The questions might not be asked. And the one thing that I think was touched on, I think Dan United, we kind of touched on it in the Race for Europe last year as well, is that he did score a fair few penalties as well. And so the in-play goals, are they going to start creeping in? If not, the pressure will start to mount. And
I ain't saying anything, Pete. I ain't saying anything. I tried saying that, and then he went and scored that trick against us, so I'm saying nothing.
Yeah.
So you've humbled yourself down these days.
I'm just saying it. I'm just saying it because I'm just interested in watching to see how he actually deals with that pressure next season. And we've kind of alluded to that anyway, but it's going to be interesting, because if you do get and recreate that Cole Palmer from last season, and you add Nkunku to that, and you got Sancho to that, I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches that you've got, and I think that's going to win you a lot of games this season. Which is why I'm not sleeping on Chelsea being up there within that conversation, because I think you're going to have games this season where your first 11 may not play well, they may not have good performances, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about December, January, February time, where Chelsea are one of the most potent teams in the last 15-20 minutes, because they're going to bring on the big guns. They've still got firepower that's going to come off the bench and win you a game, a little bit like you did against Bournemouth. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that time and time again. So it's going to be interesting to watch Chelsea. And I said it to Don, for me, I've got big expectations of Chelsea this season because of the money you spent and for the star-studded quality of players that you have. Regardless of style of football, you've got players that can win a game for you, and a number of them. And I think that comes with pressure as well. So just before we move to Man United, where do you see realistically Chelsea finishing this season, Dan?
So I've said fifth. I've said fifth all along, because I think if you remove Pochettino, you have to improve. If you're bringing in Maresca and you're spending the kind of money that Chelsea have in the summer, at one point I wasn't sure that we were spending enough on the present day squad, but now ultimately we have. I think we've had to improve on where we finished last year. Last year was sixth and pretty woeful for the majority of it. I think 5th for me is a realistic target for Maresca, because if he doesn't achieve that, then I don't understand the removal of Poch from his role. I know Poch wasn't good enough, but 5th isn't good enough for Chelsea, in my opinion, anyway. But if you remove Poch, then that manager has to improve from the season prior, especially with the way he's been backed, because you can't say that he hasn't. Even in terms of players that have been removed from his playing squad, the board have stood behind him and allowed him to go. Raheem Sterling, Trevor Chalobah, players that he really didn't fancy having around.
Yeah, I think they'll finish a lot higher than that because of exactly what Pete said. They will click into gear. Maresca is a good manager. I've got a lot of Leicester mates, and they walk the Championship. I know it's a jump and what everyone says, but I've got you second asterisk if Man City get relegated.
He did throw away an
Otherwise,
18-point lead, though.
Yeah, but he still won the league. Who cares? Who cares how you got there? You get there in the end.
In the Premier League, if you're a manager that's capable of throwing away an 18-point league at any point in your career, there might be if you throw away 18 points to the Premier League, that could be your job.
Yeah, agreed. But, it's different scenarios, different players, different teams, and what have you. I think his philosophy will come through, as Pete said, around January. If you're in and around the top 6, 7, I expect Chelsea to go on a run. If you're getting Cuckoo fit and playing like he should be playing, then you've got one hell of a player in him.
Yeah, I think the squad depth is definitely going to be massive for Chelsea this season, but I do think the pressure is uncomparable from what Maresca had last year at Leicester to what he'll be under at Chelsea. I'll be honest with you, I think there's been 2 okay 45-minute performances that I've seen against Wolves in the second half, and maybe the first half against Palace. They really stood out for me as our 2 best moments. Other than that, I'm not convinced on what I've seen from Maresca and his tactics and his philosophy so far. But it's early days, and he's got a lot of work to do gelling this amount of players together for sure.
I've just seen something in the chat, and I was absolutely stunned at this. Are Man United about to kick off, Dan?
They are.
In what? What game?
The Carabao Cup. Barnsley.
Coventry. Is it Coventry or Burnley?
Barnsley.
So they split the
Put some
Carabao
respect
Cup
on Barnsley's name, Wolfie. You put some respect on
My bad. They have more history than Brighton. My bad.
Have they split the Carabao Cup games? Because we play next week.
Yeah.
They've split it, Pete. They've actually given the teams that compete in Europe have been almost seeded into home draws.
It's pathetic. 6 out of the 8.
Yeah, remember the draw.
Yeah, ridiculous. But,
How many home draws in a row now down for you guys in the cups?
Don't care.
Brown envelopes, yeah?
I apologize. I didn't realize you were kicking off. So look, we'll come to you because you're going to want to go and watch that, or will you?
Pete, just before we move on, dead quick, because Dan mentioned it before, and my lad told me this stat. Well, not sort of stat, but this fact. Have you all seen that AU Gold vodka? The flavored vodka.
I've heard
you all
of it.
seen that? Yeah. Do you know who started that company?
The ball boy.
Yeah, the ball boy. Yeah,
the ball boy who Eden Hazard kicked.
No,
they had a meet up, didn't they? They met up and had a promo video to both of them.
Yeah.
There's content on YouTube actually for that.
Yeah, my lad told me about it the other month, and I was like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah." What the hell?
No fooling you there, Dan.
Dan, have you got a 3 Deji style rule coming up for Ten Hag with this Barnsley game or not?
Nothing, mate. I'm spent. I'm spent with the guy. You know my thoughts on this guy. You know my thoughts. Absolutely not. Look, cometh the hour, cometh the man. Doesn't get enough respect on his name, so I'm gonna put it to him. Sir Jonathan Evans playing at left back in the Premier League at the age he was and getting a clean sheet. This man, okay, this exactly. Iniesta, Wijnaldum. No, look, the game would have been a far different game, I think, if the penalty goes in at the start. But I hate this bollocks about there was 54 seconds between him putting the ball down and putting the back of the net. No, I'm sorry, you're a striker. Okay, you play professional football. If you don't know how to put the ball in the back of the net, it's your own fault. I'm not having that. But what I will say is my main concern that come from the game this week, I know that they've all been past fit, but we started with Mazraoui, De Ligt, we started Martinez and Dalot. We ended the game with Dalot, Maguire, Casemiro, and Sir Jonathan Evans of Manchester. So the concerns there fitness-wise, but I do want to give a massive shout-out to De Ligt because this guy had absolute pelters before this game. This guy was absolutely hounded because of that complete prick, and I will say prick, Koeman. I can't stand the guy. That guy could fall out of himself in an empty room. He's a joke. So it was a test that we had to come through with. Now, Southampton, I don't know if anybody knows, before this game, I think they'd strung the most passes together in the Premier League so far this season. They're a team that like to get the ball down, and the early showings start that. But the big save from Onana, I don't put this on the manager, us coming back from this penalty save and going on and winning the game. I see this from a group of players inspired from a penalty save to go on and take the game by the scruff of the neck and get the result. I still see things in Ten Hag that I don't like. I don't trust him. I wouldn't trust him as far as I can throw him. And I still firmly believe he is one of the favourites to be sacked at the start of this season. So it's one of them. It's a roller coaster of chaos for Manchester United. I said this at the start of the season. We could easily finish third. We could finish 10th. It's because there is so much chaos in that Premier League table this season. Now, do I think that this is the start of us hitting a consistent run of form? Absolutely not. Because I know what can come from this false sense of security, being a Manchester United fan. But the positives were there. Seeing Ahmad, playing another game. Ahmad is fantastic. I love that kid. Garnacho coming on and scoring a goal, phenomenal. Rashford, a lot of things have been said about Rashford, and I've not been his biggest fan. But to see him score a goal, to see the relief come off him when he put that in the back of the net, and let's not take it away, it was a great finish by Rashford. It really was. Yeah. So I'm feeling positive, but I also feel like this is kind of like the old scenario with my wife when I tell her I'm going out in 3 weeks' time, and she said, "I don't care. Off you go." 2 weeks before, I say, "I'm going out." "I don't care, Dan. Stop telling me." The week before, "I'm going out." "I don't care. Stop telling me."
No, it's coming.
The day of it, "I'm going out." "Yeah, so you're going then? You're actually going there?"
Oh, you didn't tell me. You didn't tell me.
Yeah, I
wish my wife was here right now. I wish my wife was here because I wish
false sense of security. So look, I'm happy to get the win. I'm happy the fact that we've actually got some points. I'm happy with a clean sheet. That's 2 this season for us. But I'm certainly not about to in Deji's terms, twerk my bum, shake my bum. There is no domination across the nation. This is just one of them games against the team that were recently promoted, and you would expect us to go and beat anyway.
And you'll be even happier when you check the Liverpool score out. And I'm not talking about Saturday.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, there we go. There we go.
Maybe it wasn't that big an achievement for Forest. It seems like everyone's slapping them around now.
Maybe not. Look, I'll ask the panel just before we wrap up, and I think there's a super chat as well. Just for the rest of the panel, regards to Man United, are you with Dan United? Do you think it's hard to judge whether they're going to kick on from this result, or could it quite easily be maybe even tonight another loss and it's all back to doom and gloom again? Like, how are you just in general, panel? How are you seeing Man United at the moment?
Well, can I just big up Dan first? No, you go ahead. Go.
No. I was just going to say that Ten Hag always seems to pull a result out when he really, really needs it, and just about cling on to his job. So,
is this where we are?
Too early.
Is this where we are? He's pulling out a result against Southampton. Yeah. This is. Do you know what I mean? This is the issue. This is the issue.
What are we going to say, Wolfie?
I was going to big Dan up. It's so refreshing. I hate Man U. They're a real club with real history. I'll give them that. And I hate them. They're one of my most detested clubs for what I had to go through in my childhood. But Dan speaks so honestly about his club, and he doesn't mince it. And that's what I love about him. And it's hard to take the piss out of him. I'll save that for my Man United mates. But you're spot on in what you say. And exactly what you're just saying there. Every time he's on the brink, he just pulls something out of his ass, doesn't he, to save him. And I see you just having a repeat of last season. And the deluded United fans that I've seen this week, oh, Trashford's back. Oh, Ten Hag's on this month over Southampton, man, who, if they had scored that penalty, I wonder what the capitulation would have been like from the United players on that pitch. That was a pivotal moment. I agree with you. The whole 50 seconds, you're a professional footballer, mate. Stick it in the back of the net. But that was a pivotal point. If you'd gone 1-0 down, I mean, it might have been better for you guys because he would have had to go. You can't lose to Southampton and him stay. So I'm happy that you got that win. It keeps him there. He's now bought himself probably 2 or 3 games. Then the pressure will rise, and he'll probably end up playing Leicester or something, and he'll win that one. So yeah, but it is refreshing. I just want to say thank you, mate. It's refreshing to hear a Man United fan speaking objectively about their club.
Do you know what the problem is, Wolfie? I'm at that age now. I remember my uncle used to say to me in the early 90s, he'd go, I remember when we were shit, and I used to think, don't be silly, you know, we're going to dominate. And now I find myself saying to youngsters, I remember when we were good. You should have seen us. Champions League, Premier League.
That's standards. That's why I say to the Arsenal fans as well, who celebrate 4th or finishing 2nd, oh, it's Pep and what have you. There's standards, man. Man United should not be accepting standards this low. It's funny to watch. But it's good to hear, honestly, Dan. I respect it.
Chelsea, Dan, just to finish off before we wrap, are you worried about Man United this season? There seems to be a pool of teams fighting for those positions, whether it's 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever. In that little pool of teams, do you see Man United in there as a threat to Chelsea?
I don't, and I really think that the biggest issue for Manchester United, away from everything else, in terms of is keeping their central defenders fit. I feel like that's just been a huge issue for them
100%.
Time and time again. We saw 3, I think, go off at the weekend, did we not? It's a position that's obviously an issue. I think it needs to be addressed. I think when they're available and they're fit, I think they're good. I actually felt like at times I've seen some style of play under Ten Hag, but then very often I see some games where I feel like everyone on the team looks very clueless. I'm not concerned about Manchester United with Ten Hag at the helm, to be honest with you. Maybe in a cup competition, I would worry, because I feel like that's where he's somehow, like you've already said, he pulls results out of the bag when you least expect it. I think back to Coventry, obviously, you got very lucky with that one in the semi-final last year. Yeah, but Ten Hag for me doesn't worry me, and I actually don't think he'll be in the job too much longer. The way this season started,
bring on Southgate, please.
Oh God,
it won't be no Wolfie. You know my thoughts, and this is the thing that really fucking irritates me, is because it is literally a case of it will be Ruud van Nistelrooy, and that will be them keeping the fans on side. Yeah, we sacked Ten Hag, but we've got an ex-legend here, and it'll be, the good times rolling, Ruud's at the wheel, blah, 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 and then we'll be in the same mess we were with Ollie. Simple as that.
Deja vu.
I think we've got a super chat just to see it out. We were going to go to some questions. Apologies, we've gone slightly over tonight, so we're maybe hold off from the questions, but we have got a super chat to end it.
Yeah, from Nobby Clark, and it was linked to the Forest and Brighton chat. I'd rather be a Brighton fan than not Forest.
Well, with a name like Nobby, I'm not surprised. But yeah, no trophies. Yeah, enjoy that.
That game has become very, very intriguing at the weekend. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, the Brighton fans,
relevancy, isn't it?
The Brighton fan, or should I say fans? I don't know if you can pluralize their fan base, but they should thank me. At least I've made them relevant for a week.
Next week is going to be an interesting one, that is for sure.
There's time for one question, Peter. I'll throw it to Wolfie. We end on that. Cool. Foxy asked, what clubs does Wolfie like? Doesn't seem to like many.
It's true.
You like Newcastle.
I'll tell you. I can answer that for you. Wolfie, I can answer that for you. Nottingham Forest under 23s.
Yep, that's a good team. The women's team are doing fantastic. So now, I don't mind. I don't say I would like teams. I don't mind Newcastle. Don't mind Arsenal. I usually like whoever Man U are playing against. I hate Spurs because my brother. So yeah, I mean, I have more hated clubs than I do like clubs. But I'm just Forest. That's it. That's it.
Fair play. Look, guys, it's been a pleasure. Absolute mega panel tonight. Brilliant to have everyone on. Of course, we had Deji on earlier on. We had Adam on as well, coming and joining us. And of course, Dan United, absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you check out Dan United on TikTok. Some great videos on there. Wolfie, on Forest Fans TV. Very controversial tonight. You got not only did you get the panel, you got the chat up in arms with some of your comments. So they'll be interesting to keep.
Wolfie, I don't understand. I'll say it again. I don't understand how I've spent 20 minutes of my life back in fucking Brighton, a team that notoriously slaps us up and annoys me. I just don't understand it.
Mate, I don't understand how the chat were loving me at the start when I was cussing Liverpool down and hating me when I was cussing Brighton down. Yin and yang tonight, mate.
And of course, Chelsea Dan making his debut. Absolute pleasure to have you on, mate. You've got superb opinions anyway. Great guy, and hopefully it's not the last time we have you on, mate.
No,
I'm sure you're going to want to come.
Absolute pleasure.
I'm sure you're going to want to come back on to see that reaction of Brighton Forest. That is for sure. And of course, the hosts, myself, Daz, and Chris. Always a pleasure. Great to finally be back together after Chris's holiday, and there'll be more content along the way. But
Chris's holiday. Chris's holiday. I've got a better tan than Chris, and I've been stuck in tan. Guy's just turned his phone on silent for a week. He's just turned his phone on airplane mode.
Just make sure people in the chat on the way out that we're clicking those likes. Big up to Lisa because she's been trying to get us to that 100, and we had like way over 200 in the chat for the majority of that show. Make sure you get those.
Good job,
likes.
Lisa.
Yeah, great stuff. Make sure you get those likes in on the way out, and pleasure as always. And we've just got we've got another super chat on the way out. I just saw that.
That's my boy, my channel.
There we go. So he's got his Forest boys in there as well with the super chat. And that's a wrap. Top table out.
That's it. That's it. We'll do the draw, the members draw the next week. We have it ready to go. We'll do it the next day, and we'll give a shout out to the sponsors as well. But thanks everyone that joined us. Thanks everyone in the chat. See you next time. How'd you like that?
Drink it, like me, then tell me if you like that.